Okay, so now it's our first panel discussion of the day, which I think the guys are going to find very interesting. It's a real powerhouse of a panel we've got this morning. So in the interest of time, and without further ado, let me welcome those panellists to the stage. Alex G. Clarke from Denison Yachting, please come up and join me. Martin Redmayne, chairman of the Superyacht Group, please come up to the stage. Ramazan Mengi of Mengi, please come and join us. Sinan and Özer, obviously from Aegean Yacht. And finally, Kershaw from Dunya Yachts. Please come to the stage and join us this morning. We're going to be talking about challenges and opportunities for Turkey as the world's second largest yacht builder. There's lots to talk about this morning. Sinan, welcome.
I think so.
Morning. Hi, Tim. All the way down there.
All right. Hello, everybody.
Hi. Ramazan, hi. Good morning. Right. Well, what a panel we've got this morning, guys. Do help yourself to some water. I think we're going to be here for 20 minutes.
All right, I'm ready to go.
Excellent. So let's get to it, shall we? As we've just seen by that great presentation, the shipyards here have surged up that global order book in the last few years.
Yes.
The recent rankings look great and the figures. So what do we define this number 2 position as? Maybe Alex, you'd like to kick off for us.
Hello, everybody. Coming from a foreign perspective, right? Not a Turkish broker based in America. But I think it's the diversity of shipyards that you have in Turkey. You've got established yards like Turquoise, for example, and that 60-meter plus that's doing so well. You have Dunya, who's created King Benji recently, which is one of the more popular charter boats on the market, so it's getting a lot of attention. Bilgin, again, in that 50 to even 80-meter range, that's becoming very well established. Mengi is growing, getting momentum. New Marine, that's now established in that kind of pocket expedition, right? And so you have such a diversity and hitting different segments of the market. I think that's what's driving it. It's not just one segment. You're seeing so much spread out. And I think that's what's causing it to grow so strong.
Okay, that's a good perspective. How about you, Sinan, from your perspective? How do you see Turkey's industry right now?
Well, being the second is important, but keep in mind that the first one, Italy, the economic impact of yachting industry to Italy is about 28 billion. So I'm sure we have far less. So we need to, push forward.
Absolutely. And Martin, do you have anything to add on that one?
Me?
Yes.
I always have something to add, you know that. Listen, being second is okay, providing you know what you want to be.
Right.
Because you're second if you take 24 meters and above.
Yeah.
On the scale of things. I would recommend that the Turkish industry, can I just put, show of hands, how many shipyards are in the room? How many people from shipyards are in the room? Show of hands. Okay. So the point being, you've got a significant number of shipyards in Turkey who are growing, developing, and evolving. But if I look at Italy, who was number 1, based on capacity,
Right.
You're in a situation where they are already super stressed with their workload, their capacity, their projects. Bonetti has 64 projects in build at the moment, right? Unprecedented numbers. But they cannot cope with it.
Yeah.
The same with San Lorenzo, the same with Baglietto. All the other shipyards in Italy are struggling to keep up with the demand of their sales force. So manage yourselves carefully.
Yeah.
Don't try and push yourselves to be anything like Italy. The best thing about Italy is their sales and marketing and their customer journey, let's call it, the starting point. Focus on Germany. Germany is great at project management and great at engineering. Focus on Holland from a point of view of quality control and after sales and life cycle. So take the best of the 1 and 2 and 3 and bring them into the Turkish mentality is a much better way of thinking, we're number 2. No, take the best of all the key markets and say, let's make Turkey all these elements rolled into one. And you then become much stronger.
Yeah.
I think the other factor is that, I'm not going to talk too long, as I promised you, but it's like, the point being is, just work out what Turkey is great at and stick at it. But learn from your competitors in Northern Europe and those competitors in Italy, because Italy is under massive stress.
Yeah.
It's a really valid point. No, absolutely, it's a really valid point and takes us on very nicely.
Yourself in the marathon.
Yeah.
Well, the point is, if I go back to your location in the world. America used to be number one back in the 90s, early 90s. They had 100 shipyards that only built one super yacht.
Yep.
That could happen in Turkey, where lots of new shipyards come into the market and can only deliver one because it's a very expensive, stressful project to execute.
And then they're gone.
So think about how you bring everyone into this market and work together. Otherwise, you'll end up being a fragmented sector, because the new players may damage the existing experienced players. Turquoise and Dunya and all the other good people could be affected by the people just, oh, let's build super yachts. That's what happened in America.
Yep.
It's happened in Italy as well, sorry.
It's a good point, and I know, and only in the interest of time, do I want to move us on to the next one, because actually, you've nailed it. We're talking about consistency of quality. Talked about Italy there. We all know there's problems with quality when you're overworked, and the quality here has been very improving, but there's still some inconsistency. And how can those smaller and emerging yards standards, be set by the leaders in the market, do we think?
Well, I think consistency creates longevity, right? So if you can be consistent and produce a very good product, then you're going to have longevity in the industry. I think, I had a really good conversation when I was with Sadat at Dunya a few years ago, and he pointed out that, the problem is the workforce is so kind of watered down or diluted amongst all these new upcoming shipyards, rather than being focused on a few others, and they could control the quality and be consistent. But now, you have these up-and-coming yards, and some of the workforce might be spread out, going here or there. So I think that's something that they have to be very careful of, and how you're going to control the workforce and be able to have that consistent product year in and year out. And that, obviously, over time, you can be in more control of your quality and continue and get that global recognition that you need to be successful.
Ramazan, what do you think that consistency of quality can look like on a national level? Because that's what we're talking about, right?
Yeah, by the way, about the first question, I think it's being second might be the wrong way to look at it, because it's the number of builds. It's not the deliveries, the deliveries, the quality, or anything like that. If a yacht takes 8 years to build one yacht, and it's just going to count every year. The consistency is certainly we need to build the culture of both building and yacht building. And with the new emerging yacht builders, it's sometimes very hard to get that branding, because they come and build 2-3 boats and then leave the market, and it damages it, and then it becomes very inconsistent. Then the client cannot come back to the same shipyard and do the warranty works or refits or other maintenances. So we need to first focus on the mentality. I think the new investors shouldn't look at the yacht building as a way to make money, but as a part of the culture, and that's very important. And second of all is we need to build healthy competition. The competition is just it's very good when it's healthy, and it's not good, of course, when you try to steal your workforce, someone else's workforce. We need to focus on those things, and not the number of builds, but the quality overall.
Okay. And you mentioned there about after sales. I think that's very important too, and that's definitely part of the conversation. What needs to change? We mentioned the Northern European builders who do that brilliantly. What needs to change here to make the global network, support network for clients, especially those based far outside of Turkey, work for after sales? Tim, perhaps we can start with you.
Yeah, in terms of after sales, we want to keep them as close as possible to the shipyard. It's better for everyone. And it's important to keep your networks strong everywhere. The worst is going over to America, really. It's just the expense of after sales there. But again, choose your partners wisely when you do it, and right down to your outfitter. If you can, we're typically working with Northern European outfitters. If they have a base there, somewhere in Florida, that's going to help us as well. And then it's a lot, even timing when you get a ship out. If you can get it out there before the summer, so that then we test the boat out, then you have a nice warranty period directly after that before they take it to the States. All those sort of timings help really well. But yeah, then it's just keeping your network strong, because if there is emergency work that's needed and they can't get back to the yard, then you've got to have that in place so you can respond really quickly. It's a very important part of the Turkish brand. It's not just what you build, it's how you look after it through that period. So yeah, it's absolutely of prime importance.
Yeah, we've seen it where we're introducing a few brands to the North American market where there was no after sales at all. You know, you sell a bunch of boats, you bring them to the market, and if you don't have and you haven't budgeted to handle warranty periods or warranty works on board the boat, it's going to kill the brand because the reputation will go down, and then you can't really come back from that. So I think yards have to budget accordingly to make sure that you have the funds, so if things come up, you don't kind of push them off to the side. Or and for example, even what we did with New Marine in North America, where we kind of got involved with the yard in 2021, just to see the after sales network that we had then leading up to where we are now almost 5 years later, it's greatly improved. We now have established workforce who's used to the product on board and everything. And so I think a yard who's going to target entering a specific market, whether it be the American market or another market, I think they have to put the groundwork down, looking at it long term and not be short-sighted on it. And I think, again, budget accordingly to make sure you have the funds to do that.
So
yeah, especially in the American market. The number of American clients we're getting is growing and growing. So it's just more and more important, like you say, Alex, to have that network over in USA.
Yeah, needy Americans, right, who always want, you know, time, has to be quick, response time, you know, and I think there's, you know, part of this also has to deal with, you know, working with every culture, whether you're building in Italy or Turkey, all the different cultures, you have to get used to that, and it's the same thing with coming into the American market. You know, the Turkish culture has to get used to the American culture and has to be able to work together to meet the demands of, let's say, an American client, which is a lot different than a European client.
Yes, and delivery times as much as important as carrying out warranty work. You take us beautifully, Alex, to the next point. How the pressure to meet deadlines is huge, we all know this. And sometimes pressure to meet those deadlines can compromise quality. We know this to be fact. So how does the industry as a whole manage those delivery expectations and make sure, you know, with brokers, with clients, and with the shipyards, to make sure that reputation that we've talked about extensively is preserved?
You want me to go?
You can.
Yeah. I think rushing a delivery is not just bad for the shipyard, but it's bad for the owner, it's bad for the reputation, it's bad for the relationship on a long term. Even if you have to explain to a client that, you know, I think set expectations leading into it. And I think one of the worst things is that you've gone through this long build period, whether it's a year, 2 years, 3 years, and then at the end you rush that vital delivery period of the final, let's say, 3 to 6 months. And if you do it incorrectly, it could completely destroy the relationship and all the hard work you put in with that client. And also it's going to hurt your after sales, going to hurt your warranty period and everything. So I think that's one of the key, probably the most important, is that final delivery phase, where if you rush it, it could just cause massive problems in the long run.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we usually preserve about 5% of the budget for the warranty works. But I mean, right at the delivery time, if something goes wrong, it catches client's eye, and then he's just going to say, okay, you're very bad at piping. And you know, it's just going to stick to him, and then he's just going to say, once he builds a bigger boat, once he wants to build a bigger boat, he's just going to say, oh, okay, you're not good enough for the 65 meter or 75 meter. So it's very important that you do the delivery phase very smoothly.
Sinan.
I agree with the cultural differences, but one main problem for Turkish technicians is obtaining visas for Europe, for America. If, assume something goes wrong in Florida, I might have to fly someone over there, and it's almost impossible to get a quick visa. That's a big issue.
Yes.
That the Turkish government should, you know, sort out in some way.
Yes, because if you need to send your engineers over and they can't work, that's an impossible situation to solve.
Yeah.
Interesting. And in terms of the broker's role, back to you, Alex, about legitimizing these Turkish brands internationally. You've got a vast amount of experience, all of you guys do, working with the Turkish market. How can the stronger partnerships be built on a brokerage level with the yards here? I mean, we've got three fantastic representatives from yards on the stage. How can you guys work together to make it better?
I mean, there's a couple different approaches that I've done over my career, right? It's where you can represent a yard like New Marine, for example, where we were exclusively representing them in North America. We established the brand. We then went and sold 12 new builds over the past 5 years with them. And that's been one approach that's been very successful. There's also the approach where I'm also working with some yards here where you represent specific projects. For example, I have 2 at Turquoise, Above and Beyond, a 65 and 80 meter designed by Bandenberg and Rao. I've got another one at Ares down in Antalya, Spitfire, another Bandenberg and Rao design thing. So there's different approaches that brokers can do, but the strength that we add is that, you know, all we do is marketing, right? A lot of times the shipyard might not have a strong marketing background. And so it also allows us to push out the product probably a lot more through different networks than if the yard did it themselves. Also, what Denison has done with some of these brands is it establishes buyer confidence in the brand coming out of America. And so, you know, if you have an American buyer who might not know about the brand, but you have the strength of a brokerage firm that's well established, they can kind of trust in that. And I think that's been one of the reasons why New Marine was so successful in it. I think that's, you know, one of the reasons why you're seeing some of these more pedigree builders or even naval architects like Bandenberg and Rao entering into the market, which a few years ago wouldn't have been here because of that establishment and working with other brokerage houses, with the yards.
That's a good perspective.
Can I just add a comment on that?
Yeah.
I think what's interesting is that you can put brokers into one category.
Yep.
All right. There's 2,000 individual brokers out there. I reckon there's only 50 good people that you need to really know. Is that fair?
Am I one of them?
You are one of them. No, because the point being is you can try and sleep with all the brokers, but they're not going to help you because they have different approaches, different interests, different experience. So choose your partners really carefully.
Correct.
And make sure these are people you need to help and work with and become partners with. There are other partners to look at in association with the brokerage network. Lawyers across the network, captains, surveyors, people that actually have to do the actual projects are also part of the story, that have to educate, inform, and guide the client. It's not just the brokers who do everything. There's a whole network of influencers that actually say, let's build in Turkey. They're doing things that are amazing now. Let's work together. Because otherwise, if these guys are the only ones you rely on, you may have chosen the wrong guy. Yeah. So these are the things we've got to be careful of. Yeah, don't put brokers all in the same boat.
Yeah, they're trust accelerators, basically.
Exactly, yeah. They fast track the education, understanding of what is available here. And I think that's part of the whole process. You're saying about the marketing you do for your whole network of projects and clients and yachts on stock. It's like, it's more than that.
True.
It's the storytelling of what is possible here.
Yes.
What is possible here compared to the congestion in Italy or the price point in Northern Europe?
Yeah, I think you need to know the market if you're getting involved with somebody, you know. So if you haven't, you know, I've been working here for 15, 20 years, you know, and to see the advancement from Turkey from where it was till today, I think if you get somebody who isn't very familiar with the Turkish market in general, then I don't know if you're doing yourself a favor or not.
Well, we have Sinan here who's quite familiar with the Turkish market.
In the last 49 years of my boat building study, I've seen many brokers. Actually, there are 2 kinds. One is
good and bad.
yeah. One sells the boat and disappears. The other one is in the game all the time, like Denison and of course many others. I'm sure there are many brokers here. Actually, I'm now building a Denison boat, as you probably know, a 41-meter boat with Denison. So the second one, who's in the game all the time, is my preference. And I'm confident that we should work with brokers, especially in super yachts, especially in custom yachts. Otherwise, I know that most of the Italian companies who are building smaller, they don't use brokers. But in our case, we should use brokers. We should be partners with brokers.
Yeah, I agree with that. I think, you know, a strong contributor in why we're doing so well as a Turkish shipyard is thanks to brokers, and like Martin said, the wider industry as well. Brokers in particular, they have the biggest network of owners out there. So we need them to be telling our story And especially, again, like Martin's saying, you want to partner with the best brokers and ones who have actually built here in Turkey. Ones like Alex, who's a huge amount of experience building in Turkey. And he is now going out around the world saying great things about Turkey. And he's the guy, when a client comes to him and says, hey, I want to build, he'll say, okay, let's look at Turkey. And it has a massive impact. But yeah, likewise, Martin's saying it's a big industry as well. And from the last Monaco Yacht Show, I had clients coming from designers, even from suppliers. So the more we can do to extend our network and to have more qualified people talking about the Turkish industry and talking about it globally, it's really going to help our brand and see us continue to grow.
That's a really interesting perspective. I'm glad that you all had something to say there on that one. I want to circle back quickly to something, Sinan, you mentioned earlier on, and we were talking about travel for your engineers and other people. That means government policy and EU relations and foreign investment all play such a part here in the momentum of how the industry can grow and prosper. Does this sector, do you think, need coordinated national support, or is the private innovation enough to support the industry?
You said EU relations.
Yeah.
How many of you were born in 1959 and over?
And over?
Okay, that's yes. Well, okay. Plus.
Majority, I think.
All right. Our relations with the EU started in 1959, and we're still waiting at the gates. So that we have a problem. We are so close to Europe, but probably we didn't do our homework properly. Because at one point after 2003, we all thought that we would be in the European Union, but somehow we lost track. I think being in the European Union or being a partner of European Union is very important for Turkey because our main trading partner is Europe.
Ramazan, have anything to add?
Yeah, I mean, the geopolitical situations affect, certainly. The war in Ukraine, the war in Gaza, right in the middle of everything. But it has advantages and disadvantages because some part of the clients, it doesn't really affect, but some part of the clients is just, I mean, I remember we were supposed to bring one boat from Dubai to Istanbul for refitting, and he was just too afraid that the Yemenis would attack the cargo vessel because he's American. So we couldn't do it, and that was part of the reason, the main reason. But on the other side, you have Russians floating into Turkey for refitting and, of course, new build as well. But of course, this is not the most healthy way to build a cooperation in both countries. But I think we need to stay neutral. Turkey needs to stay neutral, and the builders has to be 100% confidential with the client portfolio, because you can build a boat to Ukrainian and then build a boat to Russian at the same time. We need to be strict about it and don't get sentimental over too much sentimental. But of course, this was previously with the Russian impact. But and then of course, getting close to EU is certainly healthy because 70%, 60% of our client portfolio at the moment is EU clients, and only less than 10% is Turkish. And we're now getting clients from China and US as well. So EU plays a very big role.
And in terms of the future, looking forward, I mean, it's difficult for any of us in this strange climate to look too far into the future, but if we were to use our educated guesses now to discuss, what do you think the Turkish advantage is going to look like? What market segments are really going to define that going forward? Martin?
Okay. Listen, I think I agree with your European comment, but you're in a very unique heritage gateway position. You've always been the gateway between Asia and Europe, and I think that's a key factor in your future. Nowhere in the world is so well positioned to be a connector between Russia, the GCC, and Europe. The three most exciting future markets, because Russia will come back, without question. Russia will probably not go back to Europe, is my interpretation
Yeah,
of
that's true.
how they're being treated. So I think Russia is going to be a very, very interesting conversation, but that's later on with the next panel this afternoon, or whatever it is. The GCC is on your doorstep, and you're so well politically connected to the GCC. So let's not lose sight of that. Is probably the next 10, 15, 20 years the most exciting long-term market.
Yeah.
America's always been a strong market, but America is a unique place, all right? And it's getting more and more unique the more that Donald does what he does. So I put America in its own little space, all right? It's a totally separate world to all the rest of the world, isn't it?
Absolutely.
So let's look east from Istanbul, all right? And I think that is what is the future, because let's also connect the dots. From Bodrum to Jeddah is about 4 days cruising, all right? You're so well connected to Saudi, and Saudi is doing some exciting stuff. The Gaza situation will settle one day, certainly in your 10-year sort of window. So you're uniquely positioned. You've got the most, as Tim, I think you said it, you can deliver a boat in Turkey and do your first year of cruising in the Turkish-Greek region, and you're doing your warranty locally. And then you can go and cruise beyond the region. So you've got these wonderful touch points that actually make Turkey very well positioned for the future. I think the key thing I just make sure we don't miss out on is you've got to focus on quality control at every single layer of this industry in Turkey. Yeah. You've got the people, you've got the skills, you've got the capability, but don't get distracted by being number 2 and number 1, as you were saying. Focus on quality, quality, quality. Because I was talking to a captain of one of your boats, Turkish-built boats. He said, we had alarms going off in the first year because the installation of the Cat5 cable was so tight, it kept setting off alarms. These are little things that you can change so simply. Welding, piping, wiring are simple things to get right if the guys installing and working on the projects know about quality, what it means to build quality, rather than rushing or doing things without understanding what happens when the boat leaves the shipyard. Yeah. So Turkey's future is about quality control, project management. Italy is desperate for project managers.
Yeah, that's a huge one.
All right, they've got 23-year-olds running 350 meters in one shipyard. First job out of university, they're project managers, and they're running 350 meters because there's a shortage of quality people. That's going to cause problems. And I'm going to say something really controversial. The first year of an Italian build is making it work when it's delivered. Yeah. I'm being very controversial because it's true. They build because they know they've got a year to fix it and make it work. Don't fall into that trap because it costs too much money. Get it right first time. Focus on getting it delivered, that it's in the right level of quality that the Dutch or the Germans would do, but at Turkish standard. Yeah. And define a Turkish standard. The future is bright. I'm very excited.
Well, that is very good news. We love that perspective, Martin. Sinan?
I agree with your comment of looking to the east for markets, but we have to keep in mind that the east is coming too. In UAE, right now, there are 700 boats over 24 meters in build. You know, China is coming. We have Taiwan and Hong Kong. They're already, established markets. And if China comes into the game, I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it goes into the consistency as longevity, right? So if you can be consistent with your quality, and I also think it has to do with the Turkish, just the culture in general being very prideful, right? And I think you also have some very strong personalities in this industry, people who are extremely passionate about it, like we saw with the Mazu, with Halit, we visited his shipyard and we went to lunch with him and his wife just recently before he passed away, which was just terrible. But to hear his passion about wanting to go boating with his family, and how he so looked forward to that. These aren't just builders, these are people who are passionate about boating, it's their life. You look at Omar Malaz at New Marine, this is something that he grew up around, being Turkish. And the same thing with what you see with Sadat, when we visited your shipyard this summer, just to sit down and listen to him talk about the pride and all that heritage, that geographical location for Turkey is such a huge, important part of it. You know, I think you've got also more coastline than any other country in the Mediterranean. So I think if you take all of that passion that you have and all that pride, I mean, I've never seen more flags flown in any other country in my entire life. and I think if you use that and you get consistent with your quality and you pair that with your passion, I think you're going to have a very, very good future. Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's key. That focus on quality is what is going to guarantee our growth. And so it's not focusing on that being the second biggest builder. It's, no, we are, you know, top quality, and from there we're going to keep going. And I think also customization. We offer some great customization in Turkey compared to a lot of Italian yards. So I think that's also something to keep in mind as we look forward to the next, 5-10 years.
Absolutely. I think, Martin, you said it earlier on, gateway of heritage, a huge heritage of yacht building here and boat building, hundreds of years. And even on this stage, quite some years of experience of building boats. Sinan, I know that you've been building boats for a long time down there in Bodrum. How can that be leveraged? How can the heritage of the Turkish brand be leveraged to really differentiate it in the next decade?
You want some history?
Yes. Give it to us.
Okay, well, boat building starts with the Egyptians. It will take about an hour, you don't mind. 5,000 years ago. And then Phoenicians come in about 4,000 years ago. And about 3,000 years ago, Bodrum area started building boats, Halikarnassus. Exactly 2,500 years ago, our queen of Halikarnassus, Artemisia, put together 600 boats to fight with the Ionians. So at that time, 2,500 years ago, they were building boats in and around Halikarnassus, and they could fight with the Ionians, which were, very compatible in boat building. Then, well, yes, of course, the heritage of Bodrum is very obvious in building boats, but we need to modernize, that's another point. Well, and then in the Seljuk area in Anatolia, there is not much of boat building because Seljuk people, they never cared about the sea. The Ottomans, after conquering Istanbul, they started building here, actually exactly here. It was the boatyard of the sultans, shipyard of the sultans. And in the 15th and 16th centuries, Turks have built more boats than Venice, Genoa, and Spain altogether. And this was all to conquer Mediterranean. Who was gonna own the Mare Nostrum and Mare Levante? After that, I think we started with the decline period in the Ottoman Empire until the Turkish Republic was proclaimed. And after the Turkish Republic, this area still continued driving to building boats, ships, and also pleasure boats. All this Haliç area, all the Golden Horn was an area of boat building before Tuzla started. After Tuzla, we had Yalova, we had boatyards in Antalya, in Bodrum, all around Turkey. Right now we have boatyard areas actually, which is a very big leap forward actually. What makes us second in the world is all that infrastructure. Well, that's all I'm going to say about the history. The present is with the young people.
And how do you incorporate that history, Ramazan, into the brands that are being sold now?
It's quite difficult. There's always this fight, of course, between the new generation and old generation. But in boat building, you kind of have to meet halfway. And we know that it's in our DNA to be very practical and flexible with the projects. We have to be fast and You have to be flexible enough to customize the boat in time, and still deliver at the same time, and no compromise on the delivery date. So it's very difficult, and we have to know our history. That is certain. You cannot innovate without knowing the history, and now we actually know that it is sometimes part of the game to not know fully from the designer's perspective, because this is actually what we realized recently. If the designer knows so much about the details and the construction, then he cannot innovate. He needs to draw something that is slightly out of the world, that we can meet halfway. And it's the same in the fusion of the generation with the new generation. So we always try to, of course, improve, but at the same time stay on the same level that doesn't change our DNA.
Absolutely. So the pillars of the industry moving forward, quite clear: quality, 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 as Martin said, and consistency. This has been a great panel, but luckily for you guys, we've got a little bit of time for questions. Is there anyone here who'd like to have a question with any of our panel? Please raise your hands if you do. Wow. It's a very quiet room out there. Anybody?
We answered all the questions.
We've answered all the questions. Well, thank you, gentlemen.
Oh,
there is one. Fantastic. There we go.
Thank you for this opportunity. This is Ibrahim speaking from Voitubo, the propulsion system producer from Germany. Actually, I would like to open another perspective, like asking the question, you are the brokers and also manufacturers for the yacht, and what do you expect from the suppliers mainly? I mean, what is your expectation to grow or even use these opportunities in the market?
Better prices.
This is one case, yeah. But on the other hand, we were talking about this after sales or even, how can I say, marketing, maybe for the broker side, yeah.
We have delivery time problems.
Yeah, like project management.
Yes. Quality is all right, but you know, in the last 2 years, I noticed some, you know, problems with the quality of the equipment we are receiving from Europe. Apart from that, of course, we need after-sales support from you.
The delivery time is very important. I mean, we recently purchased a weather-tight sliding door, and they said 8 months for the delivery. And we cannot fully build the furniture without having the casing of the sliding door. So it's very delays cause delays.
Yeah. Another issue is the build costs that have gone up recently exponentially in the past few years. You know, where the cost to build a specific yacht is, I mean, even in Turkey, everywhere it's gone up quite a bit, whether that's inflation or the cost of goods supplied to actually build the yacht, you know, or in this case, wages. So, I mean, I think one of the things also has to do is the cost analysis that you have to do, and what you keep that Turkish competitive advantage that used to be, you know, something that would draw clients over here. And I think that gap in the cost or the build cost is maybe not substantially below Italy like it used to be. I think it's getting closer and closer, and I think you still need to keep that competitive advantage, but the question is, how can you do that with all the challenges that are coming to the market now? So I think that's getting a little bit tricky.
That's right.
Can I ask the second question?
Sure.
Yeah, you were talking about the Italian manufacturers, and they are now in the stressful timing for keeping the capacity in this level. But do you think that this might cause missing the technology or even innovation from the market, and this might have a benefit for the Turkey? I mean, the opportunities. I mean, the Turkey's yacht producer is following the innovation closely, but the Italian manufacturers are now under stressful time, and they would like to maybe keep going on the existing design. I mean, but the market is challenging and demanding. And what do you think this might be a case for Turkey for the next opportunities?
I think without question, the opportunity comes from the logjam and the, let's say, compression of projects in places like Italy. At the moment, you cannot get a build slot in certain of the major brands for some 5, 6 years from now. Yeah. And that essentially means that they have to look elsewhere. They have to explore alternative locations. And I feel that's where Turkey's primarily opportunity lies, is saying we are open for business, we have capacity. The only thing we have to work on, as Sinan was saying a second ago, is, and yeah, Alex has repeated it, it's like you're in a situation where you have to work together. You have to collaborate as an industry. What Italy has done as a marketing ploy is made in Italy, all right? Mm-hmm. And it's worked from a marketing perspective, but it hasn't worked as a strategic planning perspective. They've got a sales force that keeps selling, and a production team that can't deliver. That is a disaster for any shipyard. What you have to do as an industry here is make sure the shipyard, the sales force, be it brokers or internal sales force, the supply chain, and the owner work together and collaborate on a project that is realistic and can be delivered within a proper time frame. Yeah. Don't add pressure to your projects, because ultimately what happens is everyone gets, I'm almost forecasting that every lawyer in Italy is going to get very rich in the next 5 years, because we're going to see a lot of litigation with delays and problems within certain shipyards. So we have to make sure we end up with, we're a good place to do business, because we really want to work with you, not against you. We're listening, we're learning, we're flexible, we're creative, rather than being, we're too busy, you have to wait 6 years. That, to me, is where your opportunity lies. We are ready to do good projects with very, very smart people. I also add to the conversation that supply chain is a problem everywhere.
Yeah.
It's not unique to you. The whole world is struggling with the supply chain. Northern Europe down to Dubai. Supply chain is a nightmare, especially on capital equipment, propulsion systems, etc. It's going to get worse. So we have to educate the clients. It's his job to make sure they understand the problems.
No pressure.
No pressure. You live for pressure. And I'm going to add a comment to you. You've never seen so many flags flying in a city? Mm. What about America? Flags everywhere.
Yeah.
Anyone else there to ask a question? Oh, good. Excellent. Suddenly you've all woken up.
That guy.
There's someone here. Hi.
Ayşegül from Naviga magazine. I want to ask why Turkish yacht builders cannot leverage marketing power the way Italian ones do, with slogans like "Made in Italy."
Okay.
I think there's, like Martin has said, there's no denying the marketing power of Italy. And it is something that we need to come together as an industry to work on. Because what we have here is an amazing product, and amazing shipyards building really good boats. But I agree that the Italians are doing exceptionally well on the marketing side, and it's part of one of the benefits of this event, that shipyards are coming together and we can talk about that. But I think we need to put more and more investment and time into our marketing, because we've got a very good story to tell and some great products to show.
I think it also has to do with the recent advancement of the Turkish market in the past, let's say, 15 years. So I think 15 years ago, I don't think the Turkish market could necessarily compete on a quality level that was coming out of Italy, or at least it was building on its quality. And so as the time has gone by, the reputation for the Turkish market, it's not just attracting the buyer who wants a good deal, right? Or is looking at cost per gross ton, right? Now he's looking for still a good value, but the quality from the product has been increasing. So I think if you keep going down the path and increasing the product quality and the reputation, attracting the pedigree naval architects and the names, then in time you will be able to market the built in Turkey, right, or the product in such a way that maybe Italy does. But I think it's taking time, and I think it needs a little bit more time to get to that level. But the quality that's happened in the past 5 years, or even the past 10 years, has grown dramatically, and I think that'll allow you to have that ability and attract more confident buyers, or new buyers that are more confident in the Turkish product.
Sinan.
brand creation is a marathon. I think we give up too quickly. And the difference between Italian brands and Turkish brands is, in Italy, if a company goes bankrupt, the brand continues to live. But in Turkey, if a company goes bankrupt, the brand dies with the company owner. That's the main difference, in my opinion.
And Martin?
Well, I think you said built in Turkey, which is obviously a very logical slogan because built sounds a lot stronger and more robust. I think the key thing is that the Italians work well together in a very sort of, let's say, controlled way. Turkey has an opportunity to work together. But I've talked to lots of people in various shipyards over the years, and there is almost this competitiveness that stops them working together. But I think this is the time now to say we have to do it. We have to sort of work out what is our USP and what is our strategy, because ultimately, you've all got now the potential capacity and skill set, as Alex said, to deliver a much better product. But unfortunately, it's not necessarily being communicated on a countrywide level. Yeah. Invest Turkey should be part of this process, as should be Turkish Tourism Board, because I'll tell you what, building in Turkey is probably nicer than building in Hamburg or Bremen or Rotterdam or other parts of the world. This is a fascinating city for a build captain and his team to spend a year, 2 years or whatever and actually have an incredible experience. There's so much to talk about, plus your delivery from, as I said earlier on, from a Turkish shipyard is on the best cruising ground in the Med. Yeah. So everything ticks so many boxes, but it's just not being a holistic, joined-up process. But it's so easy.
Yeah, it's almost like I remember Fedship, or you go up and talk to the builders in Holland, and if they lose a build to another Dutch shipyard, they're still happy that Holland was able to retain that client. So I think it's almost the same approach here, that if you can find that in here, if somebody doesn't build at Bilgin, but they go to Mengi, you know, it should be a good win for the country in general.
I think the one thing I just to add as a caveat is that you've got a lot of new shipyards entering the market in Turkey. Commercial shipyards saying we want to build superyachts.
Yeah, that's a problem.
No, but it's not a problem, it's an opportunity. We have to make sure as a superyacht industry in Turkey that they meet the criteria. Yeah, yeah. They understand the game. They are advised how to move into the yacht market. Otherwise, they could spoil it for all of you by building a boat that doesn't float or falls over on delivery. It's like we've got to wake up and realize that the capacity is here across all these shipyards.
Regulatory body.
Welcome them in, but guide them. Because it's not competition, it's just growing your market position. They can do it, because it's not rocket science to build a yacht. I say that with tongue in cheek. But it's like opportunity is there because the demand is growing. Yeah. We have got 450,000 people in the world who could buy a yacht tomorrow. But only 5,500 people have actually bought a super yacht or yachts. Yeah. So it's a tiny, the potential is huge in a tiny marketplace. And everyone's looking for capacity now.
We've got time, I think, for one more question. Phil, just here, if you don't mind. Got a microphone?
Yep.
Over here.
Can you just speak?
Right there.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Yeah, Phil Node from the Cayman Islands Shipping Registry. So I've been working in Turkey, I guess, 20 years on projects, and one of the biggest differentials I see, because we're working with about 70 shipyards, is in Turkey you're very transparent. And I think that's another important differential. You're a very open book. So when an owner's team comes here, they welcome you in, they're sharing progress, they're sharing their problems, and you don't get that across the rest of Europe. I won't say where you don't, but here...
Well, we know where.
This is something you should also consider with all the quality consistency, I think, is being honest and being transparent. That's really important, I think, for an owner's team.
And that is a good place for us to wrap it up. Gentlemen, thank you very much. I think it's been a fantastic panel to start the day with.
Thank you.
So thank you to Alex, to Martin, to Ramazan, Sinan, and to Tim. Thank you for joining me. And yes, on to the next. Thanks very much, guys.
All right, thank
you.
All right, boom.